And last but not least, let's talk about chapter 4, boy,
Right.
of the book of John Wick.
Right.
A book that I have been enjoying since 2014, right? So,
Yeah.
pre-ramble time, right? And Ricardo, if you don't mind, I want to do the synopsis first, right? So, 2014, a year before we started on this podcasting journey, I saw a particular film called John Wick, right? And I really enjoyed it. I didn't love it, but I did enjoy it, right? But it was one of those shows that legit took Keanu Reeves' career, which was at the moment just spiraling down that toilet bowl. Thanks to I think the last like true flop I saw for him was that oh gosh, what was the name of that movie? Boy, let me just get quickly.
You know what thriller with these two girls who was like some girls who with I think Anna de Armas was in it. You know some
Or Knock Knock. That was actually one of the first shows I reviewed. Actually,
okay.
I enjoyed that. It was sleazy. It
Right.
was schlocky, but that was the point. It was supposed to be schlocky, but it worked. It worked, right? Even though the ending kind of worked, but then again, the source material, well, the original movie that it was referencing, yeah, the ending for that didn't work for that neither. But anyway, moving on, right? So yeah, his career was just kind of just all over the place, but it wasn't really show what it was bordering on the director um I'll say direct to video. I almost say direct to video, but yeah, it was referencing the VOD. It was on the verge of veering towards the VOD route, right? Where it's like,
Right. Right.
oh, it's this new VOD release and it stars Keanu Reeves. Wow, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, it kind of touches on something really unfortunate when it comes to action heroes, right? When once they pass their prime, yeah, they just stand these, VOD releases. I mean, perfect example, unfortunately, Bruce Willis, right? I mean,
Bruce Willis
literally every two, three
yeah.
months you see something with his
Well,
face in it, right?
Bruce Willis is a unique case because well we know what happened to him, and if I
Yeah,
understand,
yeah.
that was going on for a while now. So yeah, like that's why people kind of lay off on that now. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So the film I was thinking about was Replicas, right? But
Okay.
that's actually came out ironically the same year that Chapter 3 came out, right? Which I'll get into in a bit, right? But yeah, even that itself felt like it was something that was made years ago, but they just put it out because of how successful Keanu Reeves' name was, after the success of John Wick, right? But yeah, John Wick really put him back on the map. It reestablished him as a true, on-screen presence when it comes to action films, right?
Yeah.
Um, the mere fact that it referenced Matrix, but not in a lazy way, made
Right.
sense, right? Because yeah, he is and always will be Neo, right? Despite what we got with Resurrections, right? But that's another story there, right?
Right. Right.
But yeah, it just put him back on the map, though, and just over the years, even quite recently when we did our best films of the decade, I remember our colleague Somali Polanyi actually put this as her top 10, right? As one of her top 10. And I actually saw it show up on a number of best of the decade lists as well too.
Yeah.
And looking back at it now, it makes a lot of sense, right? And really what it does well, right? Is that it understands that yes, at the end of the day, it's an action film. You're not gonna get anything deep or whatnot, right? Well, I will talk about the attempts of depth, right, that they give it, right? But
Right.
yeah, it's just a straightforward revenge shoot 'em up, right? That's what it is, right? Once it do shoot 'em up films well, people will love them, right? There was even a movie called Shoot 'em Up, right, which starred Owen Wilson. That I
Right.
sorry, not Owen Wilson.
Clive Owen.
Um,
Clive Owen.
yeah, Clive Owen, which I
Yeah.
totally fuck with. I actually
Yeah.
really dug that show, right? But yes, once you do it well, once you come up with really like entertaining action sequences, that's the key.
Right.
Entertaining,
Set
right?
pieces. Yeah.
Set pieces, and you could go as over the top as possible,
Yep.
but it's as low as you make it entertaining. That's what the first one did, right?
Yep.
So much of my surprise, but they just arm things up even further, right? The director, Chad Stahelski, sorry, right? Yeah, really raised the bar with part two, right? And from there, I just became a fan of not just of the franchise, but of him, right? Because
Yep.
yeah, I mean, Chad, had his early beginnings in the industry as a stuntman, right? I could tell,
Right.
right, that this
Right.
man really wanted to pay tribute to the stuntmen of yesteryear, right? Even right down to the very beginning, showing a little shot of Harold Lloyd, I think it was, right? I think it's him that you see in part two. I think you saw a bit of him in the third one as well too, right? Which I'll get
Yep.
into as well, right? But yeah, just showing that yeah, these guys should be acknowledged as well too, right? Um, and he stepped things up with that, right? But it was Parabellum though. That was when I was like, all right, this guy is on the rise. This franchise is going to be one of my favorites, right? And yeah, that was one of my favorite movies of 2019, right? Parabellum. Absolutely love that film, right? And again, it's not deep in terms of the story and whatnot, right?
I'm gonna get into that because it's one of those
Yeah.
films that you have to know where you come to look for.
Exactly. That it's like that, right? It
Right.
does not hold your hand and tell you, previously on John Wick, blah 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 blah.
Well,
Yeah.
I was thinking in terms of the conceit of it. Like it's just
Right.
okay. What are you here for when you want to see a John Wick movie?
Right. Exactly.
I'm just gonna get you could when you finish your point. I'm just gonna get my history of it.
Right. So I'll wrap up here, right? So yeah, you know what I mean. 3 was great though. I really loved it. I remember one of your gripes was that it was not the end of it.
Right.
And that was a little gripe for me looking back at it. Like yeah, they could have ended it. Like I assumed that it was going to go the original Matrix trilogy route now, where
no, just a general trilogy route.
And it just ends, right? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't know if I kind of basic, but to me, trilogy should be a full arc. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But they say no, we get a fourth one, right? But it was the promise of okay, John is hurt. He went through hell. I'll talk about that in my review. Even Lawrence Fishburne, right? As the Maury King went through hell as well. They both like, John, you need to go and take down the high table. That's the main baddies in this film, right? The Illuminati of this world, right? Which I'll talk about the world in my review of it, right? And of course, John being John is like, yeah, right? The movie ends and you hear that music from Tyler Bates, right? And you're like, yeah, you can't wait for chapter 4, right? So of course, when we just saw that first trailer for chapter 4, I was like, yes, I can't wait, right? But two things though, two things I'll mention, right? One, of course, we have to acknowledge Lance Reddick, right? Because a week before we got to see it down here in Trinidad, he passed away, man, and that was really unfortunate, right? And I heard actually that North American screenings got to see some sort of RIP or something, but I stuck around for the full credits. I watched everything. I saw nada.
I remember we talked about this with the Shazam review.
Yeah.
And I was saying, okay, probably they could pull off something RIP in America, something close, but I don't think they would have pulled it off internationally. Because them films on ship already and whatever it is now. I know we live in digital age, but you can't know it still don't work like that. Sorry.
Yeah, which is unfortunate. But I have a feeling but I believe it coming out at the end of next month. Yeah, that's when we'll see it, right?
Right, no problem.
But then also too, the thing that had me kind of concerned now was the runtime, because this is running at 2 hours and 49 minutes, right?
I'm gonna talk about that. Yeah.
But for me now, I praise ambition. I like when a director or a writer could step things up. Challenge himself, right, or herself, right, or themselves, right? I like that, right? But for something like this, 2 hours and 49 minutes, boy, you sure, Chad? You sure, Keanu? You sure? But I'll talk about runtime in my review, right? But yeah, Ricardo, your history with John, with the John Wick franchise, and then jump into 4.
Much like you, back when the first film came out, I was very dismissive of it. I don't think Keanu was spiraling or anything like that. Okay, so I'm on the fence about Keanu as an actor. I'm gonna say it.
We'll talk about acting also.
Gosh, and this was
we have to. We have to. But I'll defend it. I'll have a defense, but you go ahead. Sorry.
No problem. No, at the time, so I remember when this came out, I was super dismissive of this. I was like, nah, this is gonna suck and it's not gonna be great and blah blah blah. I forget who I was talking to. I don't know if you remember that girl called Victoria Lewis.
Oh yeah, I know her. Yeah, I know her.
Yeah. So I remember she was like, thinking, oh no, it's gonna be real hard and thing. And I was like, no, I was dismissive of the whole thing. I just remember she was super defended it now. But anyway, the thing is, I went to see the film and I was surprised of how good it was, right? Because it's like, oh, the world building actually kind of smart and they actually take a lot of things into account. And yeah, the whole hotel and paint with gold thing kind of funny. And it's like, okay, it like a really kind of somewhat well thought out graphic novel almost kind of thing. And then the action turned out to be like just goddamn amazing, like just straight up like wait now, John just getting headshots right through boy, and wait boy, that sequence was good, and the story was real hard, and the stuff with the calling him Baba Yaga, I forget what you used to call him.
Yeah, it's Baba Yaga.
Baba Yaga, right, and it's all of that we so badass, and real graphic novel thing, and I think, oh, this real hard though, and I came out of it and thinking, right, this was kind of amazing. Yeah, I really dug it for what it is. And then the sequels happened, and even though again they improved, the set pieces are great, and I have a lot of fun with it. It started making less and less sense, and it started effectively. It kind of take the same part as the Fast and the Furious franchise, right? It just
Right.
get less and less realistic. The power creep starts setting in, and it's just like, all right, John can't survive that. How the hell he survived this? How he walking? And it's like, yeah, that's how they accept it for what it is going into it. And yeah, he's basically a goddamn superhero. And the reason he can do that in the world is because he have a Kevlar suit, I think. That's why. Like, no, the Kevlar suit will help with that. Sorry. But whatever.
Sorry, every film you always get at least 2 Kevlar suits. I mean, come
Right.
on, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But the point is like, whatever. That's the thing, right? It's no different from Captain America's shield. It's like, yeah, that's accepted. Like, that's what he could do. Fine. But then the world building gets sillier and sillier. And I remember having it fun with the second film. Common was a standout for me.
Ruby Rose, though, and you always
Ruby
say
Rose, right? Yeah, she was in that. She was in that.
She put up the best performance in her career because she was.
Yeah, right, for real. Because she didn't talk, right?
Yeah, she didn't talk.
Right.
Sign language throughout, though,
Right. But no, it get less and less. It get less and less like plausible because like, wait, everybody in this goddamn society, I thought it's a secret society. How a whole pack of people full of whatever.
And no police, no police.
Yeah,
if I'm mistaken, none of these. No, sorry, with the exception of the first one, no cops in this world, though. What going on? Yeah.
Whatever. And then the third film again, I didn't hate it because I kind of accepted for what it was. It's like, all right, Fast and the Furious is like that. This is gonna be like that. Like this is Fast and the Furious, but with action people. It's just the people inside the cars. That's all it is. These scenarios gonna get more and more outlandish, but they're gonna be really clever and entertaining. And I just accepted because Fast and the Furious exists. I expect it. And yeah, we got that. The third film I thought was some really great set pieces. All of that stuff with the horse was really clever and really well done. Wow.
Oh yeah.
That was hard.
And then they actually get back Mark the Casco's thread.
Right.
They give him a real good role, Joe. That's one thing I love about this series. They will give legendary action actors moments to shine again. You know what I mean? And Mark was one of them. Yeah.
That's what it is. And it's straight up. They just get some basketball player in one of the first action sequences, and he was great. They had again Mark Dacascos, again big action. If you're a big 90s person, that's what this is. This is just the culmination, the accruement of all the shit that you like from the 90s, right?
Yeah, it's way better than the Expendables movies in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
Expendables was just more like, yes,
right.
It's taking all these heroes and squeezing them into one movie. It's like, no. We using the actors. We picking them well and we giving them roles, right? It's not just selling the names as the characters they play and whatnot, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so on and so forth. We get that. Halle Berry, I forget she was in that too. She just had them dogs, and then dogs getting on dread. Dogs getting on dread in this one too.
Yeah, that's a bunch of nut grabs though. That's nut fights.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. And this one we got more of the same. Like again, a bit shallow. A little smarter. I do think, I'm just going to say it up front, I do think this is the best of the sequels. So I prefer this to 2 and 3, but still not as good as 1 in my humble opinion.
Sure.
But I dug this for what it was because, they get my boy Scott Atkins to come through. Like, right?
Yeah.
And then
I didn't see it coming though. I did not see it coming.
And then, they get Donnie Yen to come through and they're like, he had to.
Donnie Yen, though, the OG, the OG.
Yeah, and they just get a bunch of like, again, much like with again, we're gonna be talking about transmedia. They straight up had a sequence from Hotline Miami in this though. Like, all right,
yes. I was trying to remember the name of the game. My friend was sitting down next to me was like, "No, this is actually from a game." I'm like, "Yes, I know." I tried to remember the name. Is it what I heard to Hotline Miami? That's what it is. Yes.
Well, it have another game. It have another game that came out recently, like 2 years ago. That more like that. It's some that was but it's basically the same top down thing. That what you do. And I was here for that. And I'm just going to straight up say it. It is basically, what you're looking for as a film. If you're looking for some deep story and real smart world building or something like that, no. It's not the Kingsman. But even the Kingsman still was, it's goofiness now. What this is effectively action film and action cinema as art form, right? And if you're looking for it like that, this movie in particular, the franchise overall does it well, but this movie in particular is a borderline masterpiece, in my humble opinion.
Agreed.
How it works, how it comes together. Just these sequences. As I said, the one thing that pulled it down, and we're gonna get into that, the length. This we could have chopped. They could have chopped. I don't know, they could have chopped a good 45 minutes off of this trip. Like in my humble
Oh,
opinion.
you say
Like
45? Okay.
yeah.
I
Like
thought you were say 15, but all right, 45.
no,
Jeez, man.
like I just feel like the world building, they could have cut most of that storytelling, just do the bare bones. I didn't have to care about none of this. I know they do the whole thing with the Continental. All right, that's kind of cool. That's kind of interesting. Skarsgård was in this. I thought he was good.
Yeah,
As a
yeah.
villain.
Bill Skarsgård, aka
Yeah,
Pennywise. Yeah. I'll
yeah.
talk about him in my review.
Yeah, I thought he was actually pretty good as a villain. He works for the most part because when in context with the other characters and what happened to Lancer, the character and everything, like okay, everything works like what they're building for towards. But yeah, again, I'm not really interested in any of that. Is when it's time for the shoots and the pew pew, and for some reason John Wick just getting hit by more and more cars for some reason, and
Boy,
yeah, and then
it's almost a joke
becomes,
at this point in time. That like
yeah,
every film he gets knocked up by at
yeah.
least two cars.
Yeah, and then even more is like it kind of become a borderline Mission Impossible movie as well. It's like, oh right, you jump out of a building and you fall from this height and blah 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 blah. And yeah, I just think, look, if you're in for action cinema, it's next to perfect. Do not jump into this expecting some big story, whatever it is. The first film did that, and I thought the first film, that was a surprise. And these other films, what they did is say, okay, it's what I was worried that first film would have been, but they end up just saying no. They just lean into it because that is the strength. That is their strength. Their strength is not writing. They're not trying to make this smart, and I'm not expecting it to. And then what if you're there for the vibes, as they say, it is work, and I have no problem with it. Yeah, that's just my first take on it.
All right. Well, I guess I will do these synopsises, right? I
All
will
right, okay.
keep it as simple as possible, right? So after the events of Parabellum, right? So yes,
Right.
John Wick is going, for the high table, right? He's gonna wipe them out one time, and he actually does that early on by going against somebody who he had aligned with earlier on just to more or less get back into New York and whatnot. Cause remember, there's this whole thing about him being excommunicated and all that stuff, right?
Right.
And speaking of that, though, well, we friend Winston, played by Ian McShane. Now he is excommunicated as well, right? Because he helped out John, right? Because at the very end of the third one, slight spoiler, he shoots him, but yeah, he falls off the building and survives. And of course, the high table find out, oh, he lives, so. Yeah, Woodson, you're kind of useless, right? Blah, 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 right? Same thing goes with Sharon as well, right? Who is played by Lance Reddick, right? So, yeah, he's also there, right? So John, just still on this path of revenge. He goes to the Japanese equivalent of the Continental Hotel, right?
Right.
And there he runs into an old comrade by the name of Shimazu, who's played by my boy Hiroyuki Sanada. His daughter Akira is there, who is played actually by Rina Sawayama, right? How I know the name though is through the Needle Drop / Auntie Fantana reviews, because yeah, she's a pop singer, she's a Japanese singer as well.
Okay.
And yeah, he's been covering her work for a while now. Actually, been giving her work a lot of praise, but I haven't even listened to any song from her, right? But she have a look about her, right? And this is actually her debut performance, right? Film on-screen performance, right?
Okay.
Yeah. And of course, as you would expect, the high table show up. One of its representatives now is the Marquis Vincent de Gramont, who is played by Bill Skarsgård, right? So he's just this douchey guy who don't want to get his hands dirty at all, but he'll hire a bunch of goons to do jobs with him, right? So yeah, of course, as you would expect, big shootout take place, and well, long story short, now John ends up getting roped into this duel now between him and Mark and Vincent, right? But of course, in the process, as it is with with John Wick movies now, it's about the bounty. It's about, hey, you a killer, all right, cool. You gonna kill him, or you gonna meme him before he even reaches this destination, right? And I'll stop there, right? So yes, you're right though, in terms of it just being an action movie masterpiece, right? And that's how you have to look at it. Well, one of the best ways to look at this film here and the franchise as a whole, right? It's the equivalent of watching a martial arts film, right? Here's a perfect example, right? The first Ong Bak movie, right? Signed Tony Jaa, right? That was the film that introduced the world to Tony Jaa, right? It's still one of the best martial films of all time, right? If you look at it like fundamentally as a story, right?
Yeah, it'll work.
No, that's all. Like in terms of like what it's about emotionally, right? It makes sense, right? You have Tony, who is this monk, and he had this brother of his, from the monastery, who leave and gone into the city now, and he get involved in just shady shit and underground fighting tournaments and stuff like that, right? He just, but he don't even fight, right? But he just involved in that, right? And of course, there was this thing with, I think is the oh gosh, I think it was some statue. I think it's the head of a statue was stolen by him. So
Right.
basically, Tony had to go into the city to find that statue, or the statue head, or whatever it is, right? But basically, all that don't really matter the moment he jumped and hit a man with his knee. The moment that
Yeah.
happened, story is thrown out the window.
Exactly. No, it had
And
a
all
part.
you're just there is just to see him just beat the shit out of people. That is the
It had
point
a part
of
where he,
Outback,
no, it had a part I never forget where he jumped, he fold his body through this tiny space and jump through. Like,
Oh
holy
yes,
shit,
yes.
that was
Well,
fucking
yeah,
hard,
yeah,
dude.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
But
I mean, the
that's
comparison-
well, right. But that's the point I get at, right? Where the story is there, right? It's there to kind of hold things together. But really, at the end of the day, that's not what you come here to see. You just came here to see bullets and insane action sequences and
Right.
just Keanu Reeves just being a badass.
Well,
And his, that's really all it is.
Yeah, the franchise I more compare it to is actually the the Raid franchise.
But yeah,
Especially that first Raid
especially those these sequels with how they just amp everything up and how intense
Exactly.
everything gets. You know what I mean?
film. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And but as I say, it's action cinema is art form. At least what's care about the story. Even though I think the story of the first Raid is solid. That's
It's,
no way
it's
therefore.
bare bones, straightforward,
Bare bones, yeah.
do a mission thing, really, right?
Yeah,
But yeah,
it's
well,
kind of
the
isolated
second,
bottle story. Yeah,
right. But then the second one was just going deep into like the whole corruption with
Right.
the police and
Yeah, this whole history,
the
right.
criminal organizations and all that kind of stuff, right?
Right.
But yeah, at the end of that,
Yeah,
with that too, you're just there for the scene, really brutal action sequences, And yeah, I mean, I love the Raid too, right? And yeah, I mean, this franchise is right up there as amongst the great action films, right? Speaking of that, though, Chad Stahelski.
Right.
Remember that name, folks, because he is going to be up there as amongst one of the greatest action directors, I would say, of all time, Dred. And this franchise here is testament to that, though. The way how he was able to just step his game up with each and every film. It's so funny that this film also references, even in the third one, even references The Good, Bad, and the Ugly. Because, yeah, you could tell this guy
Right.
was looking at, Sergio Leone's come up as well, too, right? With the Dulles trilogy, boy. And yeah, boy, how he just stepped things up with this franchise, boy, is amazing, in my opinion, boy. This guy is up there as one of the greats, seeing this one time, right? And yeah, with this film, though, it's no different, though. He just stepped things up even higher with the set pieces. The visuals for this, though, holy shit, though, you know what I mean?
Agreed.
Like, it looked fantastic, boy. I was making this joke with my friend. Him and his DP, boy, they
Yeah.
was real showing off, boy. They was
Yeah.
showing off, though, with these low angle shots, and
Mhm.
you have shots with them going into, like,
There's
big
there's
halls
great.
and museums and just these big shots of like paintings. Like it reminded me even a bit of like Citizen Kane with the framing, you know what I mean, with the large wall and how the characters is blocked there. Like, bro, like wow, like you real like weighing your influences on your sleeve, dude. But I love it. But yeah, that was a real shoot off in that movie, boy. My God.
No, they had a lot of like cool ideas for it, and they had like one great shot that where you just walk in and he in complete black with black hair, and he just come up in the snow, and it just following him, little simple shots like that.
Yes,
But it looked
yes.
good framing, and
Even
can't go wrong.
another example to the stuff in Japan, well, Osaka to
Yeah,
be precise,
yeah.
right? Yeah, there's a shot with John, and you see like this red neon light just shine on him, and this cherry blossom tree. I'm like, all right, bro,
Yeah.
show off, bro, show off now. You know what I mean? So yeah, but I just love that aspect of just treating something as seemingly basic and straightforward as action, and treating it as art. Though, like I was watching, it's like, yeah, this is kind of like what a Dario Argento would do as far as horror films in the 70s, or like what Quentin Tarantino would do it to this genre cinema, right? They're saying, yeah, it's the kind of stuff that I would watch in the 70s. You would see it in some grindhouse, right? It's that kind of stuff, but I'm making it look real classy, right? And I would say, yeah, this is the same thing that Chad and his team do here behind the scenes, where they make this thing look really, really classy, right? And I mean, when it comes to acting, though, we'll talk about acting now, right? When it comes to acting, you get what you get, right? You know, there's actors who do a lot of heavy lifting. So I would say Ian McShane, once again, he does a lot of heavy lifting here, but he does it very well. Some of the side characters also do it as well. There's this one guy, I think it's right, Clancy Brown, who shows up. I didn't expect to see
Right,
him.
yeah, I forget he was
Yeah,
in
he
this.
was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
while he didn't have a lot to say, yeah, he
yeah.
was doing some heavy lifting here because he's basically the guy who was helping out Vincent, right? Even Bill, I would say that his acting was pretty solid as well, right?
Right.
Donnie Yen, you know, I mean the OG, right? You know, he was great as Kane. Again, it's the trope of, you know, he's blind, but he could
The
still
blind
kind of
yeah.
see his way throughout
Yeah.
a fight scene. And not just a fight scene, a gunfight scene too. He
Right,
could
come
still
on.
see his way through it. Yeah,
Right.
it's that kind of thing. Buy into just roll with it,
It's
guys. It's like that, right? It's like that, right? Even Hiroyuki Sanada, he gets some time to shine, right?
Yeah.
I was a little let down that he didn't get much to do. There's a lot to say. I was let down by that. But the moment when he was on screen, I was like, all right, yeah. He do anything. And I think that apparently he want to produce some kind of big feature or produce or direct some feature later on. I think this was like him kind of saying, yes, treat me seriously. I'm not just the typical Japanese actor that you get because Ken Watanabe not around doing
Right.
stuff. So, you know, bring me into this film here. Nah, the man like really serious about it, right? Of course, Lawrence Fishburne, of course, you know, my boy, yeah, he is still, you know, a crowd pleaser as the Bowery King. I just love how cocky he is and how theatrical he is, right? You know, Lawrence, he come from a theatrical background, right? So it make a lot of sense, right? So let me talk about Keanu Reeves for a bit, right? And here's the thing, right? Like I had a conversation with a good friend of mine about his acting in this, right? So yes, I don't want to say that his acting is bad, right? But is he's being stoic, right? And I have to accept that actors will play stoicism in their own way, right? Like Dwayne Johnson will play it his own way. Batista will play it his own way. Schwarzenegger will play it his own way. Stallone will play it his own way, right? So Keanu Reeves will play it his way, right? But is that sort of speak little, kind of show, kind of look tough, kind of say, yeah, or Winston. You know what I mean? Like he would talk like that, right? But I can understand some people watch this even throughout the whole series and saying, boy, you really can't act to save your life, boy. Like, why you being so wooden, right? Here's my defense, right? Again, with the stoicism, right? Stoicism part, right? For me, I see it as he is just so desensitized as a killer.
Right.
Like he will always remember his wife and ever so often remember his dog, right? But he is just so desensitized as an assassin, right? And it's a trope in action cinema from since time immemorial, right? You know, the killer who is so worn down by, you know, years of killing that he is just almost not human anymore, right? So yeah, that's why he doesn't even talk to people. There's like a moment where he's talking to Winston and he barely says much. He always keeps his dialogue at a minimum. We can kind of get why he's like that, you know. He's thinking about a lot now. He dealing with a lot, you know what I mean? So I can defend the acting for that, right? But I would admit there are some moments where it's like,
yeah,
all right, you're doing the stone face thing a little too much. You're doing the bad line delivery a little too much. Sorry, I don't want to say bad. It's just basic. Just like,
no, the problem is that
okay,
the problem is that,
yeah, you know.
No, the problem is that he's trying to be personable in a scene. Like he trying to make joke or whatever. It is that it's still a bad line. Really, like, all right, you're gonna just Keanu, you're gonna read that over. Come on, man. Like,
I know, but I really feel it's intentional. I'll close that. I feel it's
Right.
intentional. I
No
feel it's
problem.
purposeful.
Yeah,
Why
it's
he
fine.
does it
Yeah.
like that? Because I mean, he in the game for like decades now, right?
Right.
You know how much people probably throw, boy, improve your acting, you know what I mean? So you're
Right.
just like, all right, I'm gonna do that, but I'm just gonna double it. I'm gonna dial it back to a few notches, a little bit less now, so you get that, right? But you have to buy into it because it's John Wick, right? But then also another defense I'll make now, it's a genre, it's a genre film.
Right.
So you're not here to see stellar acting from Keanu Reeves. You have to see him be a badass, right? And yes, of course, physically he sells it, right? The moment the first scene you see him in, right, in a sort of like, I kind of see it as a Ip Man tribute, you know, him,
Right.
you know, do the punch, the hard punch, and points for that sound design though, because yeah, when I saw it in theaters, I just hear boom for every punch that man make. I was like, yes, keep it at that volume. I like that. Keep it like that. Keep it like that, right? But yeah, it's like that, right? He's selling the physicality of it, and it works. Yeah, just on screen though, he is just amazing though. Whether he is, you know, giving characters headshots or just fighting a guy down, a guy who's like way bigger and tougher than him, right? Speaking of that though, just to touch briefly, right? Scott Adkins though, like
Right. In the
what
fast
they
food.
do with him though, like with the body, with the fat suit technically, and him just being so tough and intimidated, that catch you by surprise. Though, but the
You
set
know.
piece is absolutely worth it, right? Even
Yeah.
though it is a repeat of the first film where it's in a nightclub and everybody
Yeah. Yeah.
dancing, but you're seeing people get shot at and two hardback man beat each other up and oh, but the music though, the music are all good. I had to dance
Right.
that shit. It's that, right? But I have to give credit for just expanding on the look of that first scene, though. Okay, yeah, in terms of a set piece, that was amazing, right? But yeah, just Scott Adkins are giving him some moments to shine as well too, though. But yeah, as a character, it worked, right? But I'll talk about pacing with him in a bit, right? But yeah, we really come here to see Keanu do his thing, and he really, really does it. He really sells those action scenes, whether he is doing whether he's doing the hurting or getting hurt as well. Yes,
Right.
he gets hit by cars a lot. Yes, he
Right.
falls a lot. There's a moment involving a flight of stairs, a famous flight of stairs that is
Right.
going to go down as one of the most impressive set pieces I've seen in this franchise. Bar
Right.
none, though. That is so clever. I imagine some TikTokers are gonna make fun of that very soon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it totally works, though, right? But yeah, it works, right? Um, the runtime, no.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I will admit, though, it runs for far too long for its own good. But I do praise the ambition, though. I do praise the ambition, saying again, taking a page from Sergio Leone, right? So this is his good, the bad, the ugly, right? This is my epic film, right? That's what it is, right?
Yeah.
So yes, let me make the runtime longer, right? But yeah, there are a few moments that really do drag. Case in point is one involving Scott Adkins' character himself, right? And while I get what he was doing in terms of building tension, I was just there like, all right, let's just get to the point where everybody pull guns and start shoot each other up, right? You
Mhm.
know, that's what we
Yeah.
come here for, right? So yes, for some people the runtime will be way too much too. But again, I just admire it from the ambition, just the ambition of it though. I admire. But yeah, I would achieve off 10-15 minutes from it. You say 45, I would achieve 10-15 from it, right? But they really do make the most of the time that they have with that screen time they have. They say, here's what we're gonna have a little moment of downtime. Yes, we're gonna let characters breathe and talk and whatnot, but we're not gonna forget the fact that you come to see an action movie, right? And
Yeah.
yes, you do get some extended action scenes like
But I
that
mean, to
top
be
down
fair,
scene, though, for example. Yeah, it works, right? And yes,
no,
those
to be
scenes run pretty long, right? But they
no,
really
to be
adventure throughout.
yeah, to be fair, I wasn't bored. It wasn't like I was, oh, this was real. Get it. But
Yeah, yeah.
it still needed to cut. Like, okay, it's 45 minutes is a bit much, to be fair. But like, I just felt this could have been a 2-hour movie given the amount of, and then you pack it with more action. But yeah, they do their thing. 2 hours and 45 minutes is
Yeah,
a lot.
yeah, they did, right? Well, a few things for you before I get to my rating, right? I forgot to mention you get some new characters. You get Shamir Anderson who plays Mr.
Right.
Nobody.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
thought he was good. Yeah,
um, he is like the equivalent to what
Harley was.
Halle Berry's character was.
Yeah,
To the point with the dogs, right? That there's
yeah,
this,
though.
he has this bit where he says nuts, right? And yeah, the dogs just grab for your nuts, right? But yeah, for me, I was just there waiting for a relation between him and Halle Berry. 'Cause I thought that they were similar somehow. Not just with
Right.
the dogs.
No,
Like I
yeah,
thought that they were related somehow. And it's like,
right
well,
now, yeah,
no, not really. You know what I mean? That was weird. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But that was a kind of a missed opportunity. I felt they could have connected
Okay,
him to her.
sure.
Like yeah, they were
Okay,
related
yeah.
somehow or something. That's all they know. The whole
Dog
attack
thing.
dog thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
exactly.
Like that, right?
Right.
And how he works into the story is pretty decent as well. Where it's like, yeah, I want to kill John too, but bump up the price now. I love that.
Right.
I
Right.
love that.
Fair.
Just bump up the price for murder. You know what I mean? I love that, right? The final sequence though was fantastic in my opinion. I love how it kind of deconstructs, everything that we've come to expect with, the finals battle and the shootout and confrontation between the good guy and the bad guy. It works, right?
Yeah.
It's almost again, it's just well, I would say without spoiling it, it kind of strips everything down to like the basic roots of what all this is about, right? And it totally works, right? I would say it's bringing it to the old school, but it absolutely works, right? Um that being said, though, the ending itself and where John ends up, that's all I'll say at this point, I think makes sense, right? I was
Yeah.
surprised with, I'll try to be as vague as possible, right? I was surprised that they pulled the trigger on that. I was like, okay, they're
Right.
doing that. They're not going to do some kind of cheap thing and say, oh, this is what really happens. Like, no, they're really serious about this. Okay. But just looking back at the film itself, right, and the narrative of this film in particular, right, and what we've got before too, it kind of makes sense that his story stops at this point too, because really, and after give credit for well, we could talk about writing for these, right? But there's a moment where Hiroyuki's daughters, right, well, the character, Rina's character, says, yeah, basically everywhere you go, John, you just bring death with you, Dred. So you just come here and you bring in all these people to kill us now, you know what I mean? So you can imagine somebody like John who has been going through all this hell, right? You have to keep in mind, the first 3 movies take place over the course of like a couple of weeks, Think about that,
Right, yeah.
Think about that. Or I should say about a week, the events of that those 3 films take place, right? At a point in time, you had to stop, Jenny. You had to stop running and really confront your problems, right? But I just love that moment where she says, literally, everywhere you go, you just bring a death threat. So you had to stop running. And most importantly, I have to give credit to the film for being smart enough to say this. Yeah, you had to stop on this path of revenge, because all you're just doing is just leaving death and destruction in your wake, Jenny. You had to stop. You had to stop right there and just address the problem right there, right? So I actually admire the fact that it does not end with him taking out everybody in the high table. It was just, okay, this one guy, this one representative, okay, cool, I'll stop here, because legit, I am tired of this, right? I am really legit tired, right? Also love the homages to various films. So I mentioned Goodbye and the Ugly, for example. There's a great homage to the Warriors, right? To the Warriors, sorry. When I saw that, I was like, all right, would I like that, right? I would say it kind of compresses the premise of the Warriors into one full-on action sequence, and it works, right? But what the show get points for me though is incorporated an iconic figure from the Warriors. I was like, when I saw it, I was like, all right, Chad, I see you, right? To the point that, slight spoiler, it involves a radio station, right? When they call out the radio station, I was like, all right, Chad, okay. That was clever. And seeing me as a fan of martial arts and me as a fan of that genre of martial art film cinema, I was like, all right, Chad, you get a tick from me. That was real cool. I like that, right? So yes, you could tell that at the end of the day, this is just a love letter to action cinema, whether it's martial arts or western, just action in general, just pure basic action, right? But you have to admire also too, even though it could get kind of convoluted at times, the effort placed into expanding this world of these killers and the high table and all these things, right? It could get a little convoluted at some points too, but it kind of gives it kind of straightforward to just add a lot of gravitas to what's going on, right? And yeah, just to give sense of this world that John falls into, right? While I like the idea of potential films in this universe and whatnot,
it's Keanu. Sorry.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Exactly. I think they could stop right here. But I mean, it's making a killing for Lionsgate, right? I mean, this movie is the highest grossing film in the series thus far, right?
Right.
So, I mean, if the studios say, hey, let's make more films, and Chad is willing to do it, okay, remember, at the end of the day, it's his creation. Yeah, he could say, yeah, and if, Keanu interested, he could come, he could come through as well, right?
I think the problem is that...
But a little iffy with the prequel stuff, like they say they want to show the early beginnings of the Continental, like, we really need to see that. But here's the reason why, and I'll stop here, I'll shut up, right? Because as much as I enjoy and appreciate the world building here and how very graphic novel inspired it is, I feel like if you go back to the very beginnings of it, that's where that story will start to unravel. And then you'll start to see flaws and just be like, all right, but why they do this here now? That means that what we see here in this current series here don't make no sense. You know what I mean? I think the story will unravel the more you start to expand it with other characters, right? So that's just my opinion.
As I say, again, is where you're coming from now. My thing is that, look, the sell is Keanu, as in you have a star, I'm going to see Keanu kick ass. So I don't really care about extra stuff in the world because, like, the world building not that interesting to begin with. When you think about it, in the first movie, it kind of was. Kind of.
Yeah, because you were surprised that there was all this deep stuff going on. Right?
Exactly. You was expecting, because he wasn't expecting all this world building. And
we were all expecting a super revenge story. That was all we wanted. That's all we were expecting. And then we get all the stuff with the Continental and the gold coins. You're like, what? Okay, cool. Right. And then afterwards, it just expanded even more. And while I appreciate it, I really do. And it gives it a very neo-noirish feel to it too, right? And of
Right.
course that's complemented by the visuals, right? But again, I just feel like if you just go back to the beginnings and explore this character, ting, it's like, all right, you just kind of unravel everything and then you kind of lose the essence of what this show, this franchise is about, right? But yeah, I talked long enough about this. Yeah, hands down one of the best movies of 2023, bar none. One of the best action movies. I don't want to say of all time, but obviously of this decade thus far, right? Um, and I really have to applaud Chad Boy for just stepping his game up to with each and every film. Do I'll close this right. For me, what makes this franchise so special, boy, is giving action stars, right, and choreographers and stuntmen, right. Yeah, just a moment to shine, though. Just something on screen that will live on, Dread, as a testament to their craft, right? What they've been doing for years and years, in front of the cameraman. You know what I mean? This is just a love letter, true and true, to the stuntman, right? But then also a love letter to the genre of action, right? Because yeah, regardless of whether how you feel about seeing characters get beat up or knocked down by cars or getting nuts bit by dogs or getting headshots or whatnot. Yeah, I mean, fundamentally, just as human beings, we love action, right? And yeah,
Right.
this show is a testament to that, right? So yeah, rating wise for me, I'm gonna give this a very light 4.5 out of 5, man. This is absolutely worth checking out on big screen. I saw it with our audience as well too. We were having fun with it as well. Yeah. If you want to, you can wait next month till it comes out, on VOD. I will watch it when it comes out there. Well, just basically to see the RIP for Lance Reddick do. And before I
Right.
forget, just again, RIP to Lance Reddick do. You will
Yeah.
always be Sharon, sorry, in our eyes, and of course other characters, right? But
Yeah.
in this film, in this series here, you will always be that, right? And yeah, I mean, this series though will go down as one of the best action franchises I would say ever made, right? And yeah, part four is just living proof of how I don't say timeless, but yeah, how much this franchise is gonna stand the test of time, man. So
Right.
yeah, I praised this long enough. Ricardo, final thoughts are rated.
No, yeah. Again, if I'm not going into it for the story or whatever it is like that. I'm not there for that. As I say, I make my peace in that sense. Much like the Fast and Furious franchise. The question is if I'm not if you have to entertain me, and again, they do that. Full stop. In fact, it's borderline. As I say, I have no problem calling it a borderline action cinema masterpiece. They really do a good job with it. Oh god, I forget the name of the film, the name of the game. Um, the game that came out, I think Hong Kong City or something like that, or Hong Kong Action. But yeah, uh, yeah, we got, I had to give it a real high score simply because we got Hotline Miami, right? Um,
Oh yeah.
and
And,
yeah,
and
it's
and speaking of that though, I would love to see a behind the scenes of how they do that because I want to assume that
where the
it
camera
was
was.
done in one long take and they did like VFX certain shots. Maybe a shot or two here or there, but I want to believe that every piece of movement that Keanu does and that was all in one take, right? They didn't cheat it or anything like that, you know?
Right. But yeah, I just was just so impressed with this overall. Um, everything does look good, good shots, good thing. Oh, Hong Kong Massacre. That's the name of the game. So look
All
up
right,
Hong
all right.
Kong Massacre. It's more like that than Hotline Miami, to be fair.
Okay,
But yeah,
okay.
I just was just so impressed and just just overall just damn good filmmaking, across the board, action, stunt work. Even though it's real silly and over the top. They nail it. They nail what you're supposed to do with this kind of stuff. So, yeah, Rayton, if I could just cut the storytelling part out of this and thing, Rayton, it'll probably get like close to a 9 or 10 out of 10. But if I have to take the storytelling into account, it drops at about a point or two. So I'll say it's like a 7 out of 10, closer to 8 to be honest. As it is. I still like this much more than 2 and 3. But it's not as good as 1 in my humble opinion. But it's still because they just go, ball to the wall with the action. And it kept me entertaining the entire time. I really dug it for what it was. So yeah, 7 out of 10, I'll say closest to 8.
Right. And last thing, last way. I'm gonna add this to my bucket list, right? One day I'm gonna binge through this whole series. I'm
Yeah,
gonna marathon this whole series,
yeah,
one after the next.
yeah. It's a
That would
vibe.
be like what, close to
It,
7 hours of just
no, it's a vibe.
shootouts
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
just
like
insanity.
that could be like a
Yeah,
film
I
line on
can't
its
wait.
own. Yeah, that's like say, we're running the John Wick franchise, and you invite people to come, and that's it. And you just
Yeah,
come for one, tell them come for midday, it end in 7, chill out, whatever, normal thing.
Yeah, that could be fun times, man. But yeah, I mean, we've talked long enough. John Wick Chapter 4 is a real deal. The franchise is a real deal. I don't know what the future is going to be for this though. Again, I really iffy about the whole prequel aspect of it though. But
Yeah, the
again,
prequel and spin-off stuff, I can't see any of that working, to be honest. But whatever, they could try. But because the simple fact is that you don't know the main star have to be a marketable star, like, unless it gets somebody popular to spin off of. And Wit, I can't see it working. Like, they have that guy who was the Mr. Nobody. I thought he was great, but he's not a big star. Sorry.
no, he is right.
Even though I actually can make a movie with him.
Yeah, and as you bring up Fast and Furious, Hobbs and Shaw. Anybody remember that? That was
Right,
supposed to be a
right.
spin-off. And
Right.
it was cool. I enjoyed it for what it was, but like,
the thing is,
it didn't need to be, or I should say, it still kind of feels independent of the franchise that we
Right.
know and love, right?
Right.
So yeah, it
But
was an attempt at a spin-off, but like we don't really need any more of those. And I
Yeah.
feel that will be the issue that this franchise will
Well,
run to if it does spin-offs. So.
as I say with Hobbs and Shaw was still two big stars, like, playing off each other. They had the big chemistry, in Fast and Furious, and they already two. And then on top of that, they got next big star to come in.
Idris Elba. Yeah.
Idris Elba, right? So that's the problem with this. Who are they gonna get? That I had to think, way boy, there's a big name, a big face I recognize. I can't see who's other than Keanu Reeves. Who else they gonna get? Donnie Yen, maybe? I don't know. They can't get nobody.
They could, but
Yeah.
yeah.
You see my point, eh?
I do.
What's up? Yeah. So whatever, we'll see.
Right. So as John Wick usually says, yeah, that's the best way to sum up John Wick Chapter 4, right? That's a big yeah.